Hey there, I'm Ken. This is Canadian Retro Things. Welcome. Today, I am going to be playing with my J&M disc controller. What exactly am I going to be doing with my J&M disc controller? Well, I'm going to see if I can get JDOS working on my Color Computer 3. As I've shown in other videos, the JDOS on here does not work with the Color Computer 3. I do believe it is because of a timing issue. There's a little article on the Color Computer Archive that shows you how to do a modification to one of these to make it work with the Color Computer 3. I think that's what the problem is, because the JDOS doesn't work, but the regular DOS does. So that is a little odd, but yeah, we're going to try that to see if it'll make the JDOS work. If it doesn't work, then we can always just reverse it. All right, well, I guess we're going to get working on this right away, but before we do that, I want to give a big shout out to the sponsor of today's video, PCBWay. PCBWay, where you can have PCBs printed starting at only $5 for 10 boards. Finding the right components for your project can be time-consuming and challenging. PCBWay simplifies this process by offering comprehensive component sourcing services. They have established strong relationships with reputable suppliers to ensure that you receive high-quality components at competitive prices. Their component sourcing services include component procurement, inventory management, and quality control. So why not try PCBWay today by visiting www.pcbway.com and prototype the easy way. All right, this is my J&M disc controller. Now, there were two versions of this. There was the original that only has one ROM chip in it, which would be the JDOS ROM. And then there was the one with the two-position switch on the back that had both the JDOS and the regular extended basic disk operating system. But if you've seen the video that I did on this when I first got it, this one has 1, 2, 3 positions. So this is different than either of those. We briefly took it apart before, but let's do that again. Now I've got to take the screws off the side. There's 4 of them, and these are H1.5 heads, so hex heads. So we will first get those off. And there we go. So as you can see, this is the one with the single ROM, but there's been a daughter board added to it that brought about the 2 ROMs. So the positions are the 8K JDOS ROM that's on here, a bypass, which would then be no disk operating system, and then this one, which is the regular extended basic disk operating system. So when I plug this into my Color Computer 3, the JDOS ROM does not work with the Color Computer 3. It works with Color Computer 1 and 2. But the extended basic one does work. Now, is that because of the little daughter board that's on here, or what? Now, I do know that the reason that I'm doing this video today is that there's a little manual that tells that there's a clock signal problem for the original board to work in the CoCo 3. So if that might be the problem, because this is the original board, so I don't know. Anyways, the first experiment I'm going to do is I'm going to take this little daughter board off. There we go. And we are going to take off the switch here. And now what we're going to do is we're going to remove the 2 different ROM chips here and just put them straight on the board here and see if it still works that way, whether this one still works and whether this one still doesn't work. Then we'll know that it's not the daughter board. So we'll start with the JDOS. There we go. Now let's plug this into a CoCo 3 and see if this works. And here we go with the Color Computer 3 hooked up. And here it is with just the JDOS in here. And that definitely looks like a problem. All right, well, that did not work. So let's take this out, put it back in the daughter board. And now let's remove the extended basic, or extended color disk operating system. Yes, and I know I should be using a chip puller for this, but I seem to have misplaced my chip puller, so. All right, let's try that in the CoCo 3. And here we are back at the Color Computer. We've got the regular Radio Shack DOS in there. So, again, we see if this works. Disk extended color basic 2.1. There we go. So that works. And well, that works, which is just more confusing than ever. I guess maybe the problem is actually with the JDOS ROM. The way that it's set up maybe causes the timing problem with the Color Computer 3, but the regular disk operating system doesn't do that. I'm not sure. Anyways, let's take a look at that document that's on the Color Computer archive on how to modify this so that it should work with the Color Computer 3. Hopefully that will make the JDOS ROM here work and make the allow the regular DOS ROM to continue working. And if perchance it does break this board, I can always just fix what I do to it and have it so that only the JDOS only works on a Color Computer 1 and 2. The first thing that I noticed when looking at this technical bulletin is that the disk controller card they have pictured is revision 0. The card that I have is revision A. As I could find very little about these cards on the internet, I have to wonder if the daughter board is the revision, or has the timing issue been fixed and there's a problem with either the card or the version of JDOS. As I have no idea, I'm going to go forward with the assumption that it is the timing, although I do have my doubts since the regular DOS works. But I won't know for sure until I try and possibly eliminate this theory. So let's do this. Here's the instructions for what I'm going to do. Now, I'm not going to read them all to you. I'm just going to give you a quick summarization of each step. Step 1 is taking the board out of the case, which I've already half done. Step 2 is telling me how to identify the numbering scheme of the card edge connector. Step 3 is clearing a hole for the wire to go through, which is A on this diagram. Step 4 is attaching a wire to pin 7 on the card edge connector, which is B on the diagram. Step 5 is to feed the wire through the hole that I cleared. Step 6 will be attach the wire to point D on the other side of the board. Step 7, I have to cut the trace at point E. This will be the only part that I'll have to fix if I have to reverse this. Step 8, check my connections. Step 9, reassemble. Step 10 is test the controller in a CoCo 3. So let's get doing this. All right, well, we've already taken the cover off, and, well, we've taken the daughter board off, so let's actually get this out. This is the 4 screws that I have to take out for that. All right, after a little bit of fiddling around with this, I think I've figured out how to do this. It's a metal case, so it's not very pliable to try and pry this out of here, and you've got the pieces sticking out of both ends. So what you have to do is slide it all the way to the back here, and then it just barely clears. There we go. And it is out of there. And, whoop. One of the standoffs fell off. There we go. So let's put all of our screws into the case here so I don't lose them. And let's go grab the soldering iron and get to work on this. Now, of course, because of my incredible amount of luck, my solder sucker exploded when I went to start using it today. So I am going to actually, rather than going through the hole that you're supposed to right there, I am going to run the wire up and around over the side because there should be just enough room for it to fit through on the case. Okay, I have the wire running from there over to there. Now I have to cut this trace right here very, very carefully. So I have a knife here somewhere. Good Lord. Haha, we're severed. Now I'm just going to throw the JDOS ROM back in there and see if it works. And if it works, then I will put everything back in there and we'll see how that goes. Okay, we've just put the JDOS back in here, so now we will see if this works. All right, JDOS is still not working with this computer. All right, I've got the switch back, or the daughter board back in there. And it looks like we are exactly where we were when we started, so I think it might be an incompatibility of that version of JDOS with Color Computer 3, maybe. Since I can't get JDOS working on that disk controller, I thought I'd try something a little bit different. I have here a homemade cartridge. Now, the eagle-eyed long-term viewers of you may remember this from when it was donated to the channel by Mr. Dave 6309. So definitely a big thank you again to him for the stuff that he has donated and I continue to use. Now, yes, I know it says Puyan, but it's a homemade cartridge that I can easily take the ROM out of and replace. I've actually got a different ROM in there even right now, just to show you that this cartridge does work with the computer. Let's plug it in. And as you can see, it's currently got EdTASM on it. So I just threw that on because I've been playing around with it, trying to learn a little bit of programming. But we're going to replace this with JDOS. So let's get to work on that. I've got my TL8662 Plus hooked up here, and now I can program that ROM with the latest version of JDOS, which is from 1985. So here we go, and there it is, JDOS version 1.23. And we can program that. And it was successful. So now we can stick that back into the cartridge and see if it's going to run from the cartridge. All right, here we go. Let's see. Yeah, that is not working. I don't know. I guess maybe JDOS just is not compatible with the CoCo 3, but I thought it was. I guess the next thing I want to try is using an older version of JDOS. Maybe that version 1.23 that I was using just doesn't work with a Color Computer 3. So let's load in JDOS version 1.11, which is a couple of years older. And let's program that and see what happens. Now we can put that back in the cartridge and see if this works. All right, I have the older version of JDOS on here now. Let's see if that's the problem. No, that is not the problem. We are still getting just a bunch of nothingness. So I've been thinking about this problem for a little bit. Now, I am absolutely positive that JDOS should work with the Color Computer 3 because it is actually written in some of their instructions how to make their original disk controller card work with a Color Computer 3, which means it should work with a Color Computer 3. So I had to rack my brain about what is different about my Color Computer 3s compared to the computers that the program has been working on, other than, of course, they were earlier Color Computer 2, Color Computer 1. Well, I suddenly came to the realization that the big difference is the Color Computer 3s that I have, I've got 6309 processors, CPUs in them. So what I did is I pulled the 6309 out and I put one of the original 6809s back in here. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe JDOS just is not compatible with the 6309. So I've reburnt the version 1.23 onto here. Let's see if it works. And it works. That's it. JDOS is not compatible with the 6309. Well, I guess if this works, maybe this works. So let's try it. Okay, that's the disk extended. So down must be JDOS. Huh. It still does not work. Very interesting. That still doesn't work, so I guess... So I was thinking about what I wanted to do here and decided that, you know, using the cartridge here in the multi-pack and then plugging in a separate disk controller, first off, I'm not even sure that would actually work. And second of all, that's not really what I wanted to do here. I wanted to get JDOS working on a disk controller with my CoCo 3. I have no idea why it's not working with the other disk controller. Possibly it is that little jumper wire that I put in there, so I'm going to try taking that out and see what happens. But before I do that, I took apart my FD502 here and I replaced the regular ROM in it with the JDOS ROM. So now we can plug that in and see what happens. There we go. JDOS is working. So now I'm going to test out with a disk that I made previously using JDOS on the Color Computer 2 I had. And as you can see, it's a double-sided 40-track disc. So, yep, that's my JDOS disc that I made. The one where I just decided to see how much stuff I could fit on there. All right, I have reversed what I did, and let's see. Did that fix it? Still doing the same thing. Yeah, I'm at a complete loss here. I do not understand why this is not working. I guess you could call this a little bit successful. I have no idea why I could not get JDOS to work on this disk controller. This is the J&M disk controller. J&M are the people that made JDOS, yet I could not get JDOS to work on the Color Computer 3. Interesting enough, I guess I've discovered that JDOS does not work with the 6309. Completely incompatible. So I guess I gotta let everybody know that if you're trying to run it, you have to have a 6809 machine. I, however, did get it working on the FD502, which is the reason that I'm calling this partially successful. I can still use this as a regular disk controller on the CoCo 3, or if I'm using it on a CoCo 2, I can use the JDOS on it. But yeah, it's just a little bit strange. All right, well, you can see some names going by on the screen right now. Those are my Patreons. If you're interested in supporting my channel on Patreon, it would be greatly appreciated. You would get your name on the list. You can find the link down in the description. All right, well, that is it for now. The videos over the next couple of weeks are probably going to be a little sporadic because I am moving my entire operation to my cabin for the summer. So that's going to take a little bit for me to get there. But once I'm there, then I'll be back into making my videos just in a different location. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget, liking, subscribing, commenting below, and all that other YouTube-y stuff is greatly appreciated and helps the channel out a lot. But until next time, I will see you later.